The Gen AI revolution is different from anything that's come before to it. Anyone can use it to automate or augment basic tasks. But overall, if you see, Gen AI is already showing much broader potential to reinvent processes across the entire value chain. Now, to scale this groundbreaking technology responsibly is very important so that it improves for everyone, and leaders need to lead and learn in new ways as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving technology space. And I'm your host, Priya Dayalani. Now, amidst all the excitement surrounding around a generative AI since the release of ChatGPT or Claude, Midjourney, or any other content creating tools, CEOs are wondering: is this a tech hype or is actually a game changing opportunity? And if it is the latter, what is the value that it brings to my business? So today we have Mr. Giridhar LV, a co-founder and CEO of Newpro Technologies, to help us understand why building a resilient culture to navigate continuous waves of change is so essential. Hi Giridhar, how are you doing?
Yeah, hi, Priya. I'm doing fine.
Right, it's pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today. So let's start by telling our listeners more about what exactly is Newpro Technologies, its specialization, or any particular solutions that you guys are focused on.
Yeah, so Nuapro is a company based out of Bangalore. Here, we started off about 9 years ago. Uh, as a startup, we have had to change the direction a couple of times, and the focus for us, which we think is going to be our permanent focus, is about impacting the IT workforce, right, or workforce which works with computers, works with AI, works with data, etc. And I would say, thing what we take to our customers is that Nuepro helps organizations develop a project or a job ready workforce, and our specialty is to do it through hands-on learning, because that is what gives those practical skills to those workforce, which they can start applying to their job from day one. Yeah, so that's what we solve for our customers.
Great, glad to know about Newco Technologies. Thank you for sharing. Again, like a follow-up question, could you also tell us more about yourself and the contribution towards the company?
Yeah, at Novapro, like you introduced, I am the CEO. Along with the role of the CEO, I also play the role of the product manager. And being the co-founder and being the CEO, it means that while the job is say CEO and product manager, it is pretty much you take up almost every kind of work which is needed to make your company successful. So that included in the initial phases to talking to customers, also supporting them, playing the role of a support engineer, playing the role of a developer, working on some pieces of code which has gone into the product. Then working as a marketing person where you're creating content which can be published on the website. Yeah, so things like this is what I've been playing as different times of the organization. But in the last few years, where our organization has become fairly large, and we have like well-defined functions with leaders heading those, I have restricted my role primarily into saying that looking at the long-term vision. One is about defining the strategy and stuff. So you need to always, I would say, have your legs on two different boards. While there is the immediate thing which is like transactional and needed to get the companies working and going with the revenues coming in. So that is one I would say is more of a short term one. But you also have to start thinking about what you would do in a long term, in say 6 months, 1 year time, when something game changing happens. Like I talked about Gen AI, so that's like a game changer. So that long term vision plus short term execution. So this is what primarily comes in now. Apart from this, the most of my effort goes into saying that how do we get more customers onto the using Webpro, right? So I would say that maybe more than 50 to 60% of my time is more in terms of sales, saying that what are the avenues where we can promote Webpro, what are the conversations which I can be part of, where I can understand what the problem is and propose the solutions which Webpro can offer. Yeah, so this is broadly what I would say in terms of responsibilities and what I do.
Great. Thank you for sharing more about your role. And yes, I think you rightly mentioned that Gen AI is definitely a game changer. And I think with proper guardrails in place, it can not only unlock some innovative use cases for businesses, but also speed up or scale or the improve the existing ones. Now, imagine a customer sales call, for example. A specially trained AI model could suggest upselling opportunities to a salesperson, but until now, those were usually based on only static customer data that they could have obtained before the start of the call, maybe like demographics or their purchasing patterns. Now, on the other hand, a generative AI tool can suggest upselling opportunities in real time based on the actual content of the conversation that they're having with the customer, and they can also draw more insights from internal customer data or external market trends or even social media influencer data for that matter. So, I wanted to understand what are the primary challenges in workforce development that NewPro aims to address?
Yeah, see, the basic thing which see are the customer profile which we are targeting is the IT workforce, right? So this is people who are either playing the role of developers, data analysts, product managers, QA, right? Solution architects. So these are all the personas which we address in our customer segment. So in terms of customer segments, which Nuepro has. One is ITES organizations, which include companies such as TCS, Tech Mahindra, Wipro, LTI, Mindtree, Emphasis. Then we also work with upskilling organizations such as Great Learning, Upgrad, Unix, right? So NIT Stackroad. So these are some upskilling organizations, as well as we also work with large universities such as BITS Pilani, Kumaraguru, etc. Right, and so either it is people who are already part of the workforce, or it is people who are about to enter the workforce. And the primary challenge which we have been seeing in all the set of folks or organizations we deal with is education in India has tends to start becoming more and more theoretical as we keep going up the ladder or going higher in your classes. Right. So, what you would do in your first year of engineering compared to your fourth year of engineering, you would see that a lot of it is become very theoretical, right? And that is one primary thing. And even when you get into an organization and there is a requirement for you to get trained in something, uh, with the advent of a lot of content available on YouTube or channels like, or even large e-learning, that confidence is there when you watch that video. But when it comes to doing that actual job where you have to apply it, that is where the breakage happens, right? We see that people do not have the hands-on skills, right? And when the hands-on skills or the ability to do your actual work on the project is not there, that is where things start falling apart. We have heard our organization, our customers, initially they were saying that we were tracking the number of hours of video watched by our employees, number of trainings attended, and all that stuff. But now it has completely changed into saying that we are now tracking how many people are getting deployed into a customer project, how many people are able to clear an interview, right? So these are the kind of things which are coming into play. So primarily, I would say that the fact that the workforce which is out there is not having those practical skills which can be applied onto a job on day one is the problem which we are trying to address. And all of our training methods emphasize on giving those practical skills through hands-on learning. So we do it through solutions from our side, which is we call as playgrounds or sandboxes, which are to be paired along with any kind of training. So you go through a data science training. Here you'll get a Jupyter notebook on which you have the data sets and you can play with it. You're going for some kind of certification training, then you have an AWS, Azure, or GCP account for you to, I would say, work along. Or if you're looking to learn, say, full stack development on Java, here you get a full developer box with all tools and everything installed in it, right? So that you can work on that. Apart from these playgrounds, we also have real world scenarios. These are like projects with guided steps to solve it, right? So these are all real world projects. So you could be developing a conference room booking app. You would be looking at how to migrate a database from on-prem to one of the cloud providers, or even with Gen AI coming in, how do you fine tune a model, say with RAG, right? So these are kind of scenarios which we can set up, provide you with the required lab environment so that you're not only learning the theory but also practicing on how to do it. And finally, on the real world scenarios, we also provide you subjective assessments, right? So in this way, you have a well-rounded offering where you can start with playgrounds to go along with the training and then end with subjective assessments where your knowledge is gauged by your ability to solve a problem in a lab environment. So in this way, people who go through our method of, I would say, training or upskilling are much more confident and able to clear any kind of client interviews or job interviews and get placed into those projects or new jobs.
Right. I think, yeah, having necessary practical skills at the job site is so essential. And the hard truth is that that's lacking in a lot of people nowadays as well, despite giving them regular trainings or updates. And it's exciting to see that nuclear technology has jumped in to solve this issue. And it's more important of how we can enhance the overall training procedure along with the assessments that you mentioned. So it's more like an end-to-end life cycle game that we are playing here. So I think the goal for a lot of organizations is harnessing a lot of opportunities to accelerate economic value, drive business growth, and also create more meaningful work for people. Now, I think for each opportunity, the incentive only grows when people are the navigators along the path to achieve any technology's full potential. For example, Gen AI. And the Gen AI or the era of this Gen AI will revolutionize work and workflows across the entire value chain. So, having said that, can you also share some success stories or case studies when Upro has significantly impacted our clients' workforce development?
Yeah. We do have some publicly referenceable case studies. One is with TCS, where TCS, the head of talent development there, Mr. Janardhan, has publicly stated that with NuaPro coming in, the employees of TCS are able to get access to production-like environments on which they can run their real-world scenarios, and that basically has helped them get placed into customer projects much quicker than before and also command a premium, right? Because these people don't require additional training and they can be, I would say, deployable and I would say accountable from day one itself. The second one is from Tech Mahindra. The Tech Mahindra case study again is publicly available where people have acknowledged what Nuepro has provided there, and it's been stated that Nuepro has helped the Tech Mahindra employees become project ready, right? Then we have a case study from Genpact. Again, Genpact, it's a similar kind of a thing with newer pro solutions coming in. The rate to productivity or the time to productivity of Genpact employees has significantly shortened, right? So these are, I would say, three publicly available case studies. Apart from this, like I said, we also work with organizations such as Genpact Upgrade on the upskilling side, and with pairing of our solutions with the content and delivery from Genpact or Upgrad, we have seen that the engagement rates of the users of these platforms are much higher whenever there is a lab environment involved or a problem solving involved. Right. So these are a few examples of how NovaPro has impacted positively our customers and their workforces.
Great, quite impressive, I must say, Giridhar, and I'm glad to know that some of the leading tech companies are associated with Nupro and ensuring and enhancing their workforce development. Now, moving on to some of the technical aspects of technological deployment, like I think while foundation models serve as the brain of generative AI, the entire value chain is emerging to support the training and use of this technology. Now, for example, we have a specialized hardware that provides compute power needed to train the models. Then we have cloud platforms that offer the ability to tap into this hardware. Then we have MLOps and Model Hub that offer the right tools or technologies that an organization needs to adapt a foundation model and deploy it within its end user applications. And I think many companies are entering the market to offer applications built on top of their foundation models, which allows them to perform a specific task. For example, helping a company's customer with service issues, for example. Now, with such evolving trend, like where we have new technologies or innovations rapidly taking place almost like every each day. So, how do you ensure that the AI models are kept up to date and are relevant to the current industry needs?
Yeah, like you rightly said, I think the number of organizations which can develop foundational models are going to be few because of the two parts, right? One is the kind of compute infrastructure needed, and it's all GPUs and really the high-end ones. And the second one is the context of the data which can go into training those models. Again, that data, while a lot of it is public, there will also be private data which maybe that organization will have to get access to before training its models on it. So, in that way, the foundational models will be only with a few large and well-funded organizations. Now, what organizations such as us and many others will do is about trying to fine-tune these models according to their use cases. So we use many of these models. I would say many in the sense about three to four of these models. OpenAI is one. We have also used Claude, then Gemini, then Llama 3, right? So these are like four models which we have actively used and planning to continue using in the future. So in our case, the fine tuning is primarily coming in, say, from techniques such as RAG, where whatever additional context needs to be provided is going to be based on the use cases. So if we want to be able to do something with problem statements, right? If you want to generate problem statements, for example, and it is related to, say, AWS, then the additional context could be about what kind of AWS services on which you want this kind of problem statement to be generated. And the context could also be in terms of the real world use cases which we want to address as part of the problem generation. So this is the kind of additional context which we provide and we will continue to provide to these models so that it will be able to give you information which is specific to the use case which we are solving. In our case, it is related to upskilling, right? So that is what we aim to do. At this point in time, we do see that some of the models are better than the others because of where it is coming from. For example, if you use Amazon Q, then probably that is much better than any other model related to anything related to AWS services. So similar to that, Gemini may have all the information related to Google Cloud, right? So in that way, based on the context, we will choose one or more of these models, then add additional context to it based on the use cases which we are solving, and then meet the customer requirement.
Right, right. It definitely makes a lot of sense, and it's very important to have your entire functionality in terms of your AI models up to date, so that you can adapt to the evolving customer needs and preferences, and meet their issues or solve the issues for that matter. Now, I want to highlight or talk about the other side of the coin. Like generative AI is definitely a game changer. We all know that, but it also poses a variety of risks as well. Now, CEOs will want to design their teams and processes to mitigate those risks from the start, not only to meet the fast evolving regulatory requirements, but also to protect their business and own customers' trust digitally. Now, for example, models may generate algorithmic bias due to imperfect training data or decisions made by the engineers developing the models. So, I mean, having said that, I think there are a lot of ethical challenges associated with Gen AI. So, what are the ethical considerations that you take into account when deploying AI for workforce development?
Yeah, so from our side, since like I said, we don't develop any foundational models on our own. We, however, use models which have been developed from other organizations. If you see, these organizations already have what kind of prompts are not allowed, right? While there are cases where things go off the rails, like what happened recently with the kind of search overviews which Google started giving, right? So there will be issues like that, but I think these organizations are stepping in to make sure that those guardrails are effectively put in place. So we leverage or we believe that a lot of these guardrails will also come in from there. The second thing is as you develop more things on top of it. For example, you developed an app which can probably be like an agent, which will do a specific activity, right? In our case, maybe it will help some kind of mentoring or it will help in some kind of an assessment, etc. There, if it has got an interface which interacts with the user, right? So that is where I think we need to start putting in additional guardrails about what the user can ask and what we will respond to. At this point, we are a little bit early to completely share about what kind of guardrails we'll be adding. But that said, let's say that we do believe that a lot of these guardrails will come in from the providers of these models themselves. And secondly, anything related to the context of the application which we will be developing, that is still work in progress. But I do believe that we will also have to put in some kind of guardrails because we will become the front end to the user, and unless the prompt and the responses are analyzed or put into some kind of a sandbox, it could lead to unintended consequences.
True, true. I completely agree with you. And I think when we're talking about ethical consideration, of course, you need to put up certain guardrails, like you mentioned, whether for companies who are developing the applications or even for you guys where you are, there are certain things in process, and you might also want to take those considerations and effectively deploy AI models. Now, moving ahead, I think to effectively make use of generative AI for business value, companies need to build their technical capabilities and also upskill their current workforce. Now, this requires comprehensive effort by leadership to identify the required capabilities based on the organization's focus use cases, which will likely extend beyond technical roles and also include a mix of different talent, including engineering, data, design, product, and even other business functions. So, having said that, did you face any certain challenges while developing or scaling new flows solutions? If you could share those with us.
Yeah, whenever a new solution, it's not only specific to Novepro, right? Whenever you take a new solution to an existing problem, then the adoption of it depends on whether the place you are taking it to already has something in place, or they don't have any solution at all, right? If you have a solution in place, it could be the most inefficient one, where instead of automating things, you are doing it manually, or you have, I would say, combined a set of tools to perform whatever you're trying to give it as a one-stop shop, right? So those are the challenges which any startup or any company faces, and it is also the same with Pro. So when we get into an organization, we are solving an issue or the problem around upskilling and making people job ready or project ready, right? It's not that these organizations will not already have tried to solve it in some way. So they will already have solved it either not in an efficient way, by doing it manually, or by combining different tools and all that stuff. So when we go in, that is primarily the challenge for us, which is to displace the status quo, right, and prove to our customers that when they deploy something like Novapro, the results which they see will be much better than what they have been doing until now, right? So that is primarily the challenge for us. Yeah, so that's what we go through, multiple, I would say, with multiple people in these organizations, multiple different business verticals, trying to prove that we can do much better than what they have in place. And that is what, with case studies and references, to show and open the door. And then with that is how we scale our solutions.
Right, definitely. I think challenges are a part and parcel of the entire process while developing a solution. The important thing is how do you intend to overcome them and ensure a foolproof solution in the market. So, having discussed about the pros and cons, I think technology or generative AI specifically has the opportunity to prepare individuals to transition from being focused on one or two areas of expertise to mastering multiple interconnected capabilities and at once. Now, this shift can definitely present an opportunity to create a more agile and an adaptive organization across all levels. And I think, for example, you can pitch in tailored learning pathways aligned to each worker's needs and aspirations. So, one last question for you, Giridhar, like how do you see the role of generative AI evolving in the workforce development over the next few years?
So, with generative AI coming in, there is expected to be a significant shift in the way you are doing the workforce development. With generative AI, the first thing which we can do is get more personalized in the way you are training people. Right, so the personalization will come in from two sides. One is based on what is that requirement in that project or job which is there for that individual to meet. right? And you will know that in any kind of project or a job, no two individuals will be doing the same kind of work, right? While you may say that they're all working on an e-commerce app, this person is working on the database, that person is working on front end, this other person is working on the middleware, somebody else is working on the infrastructure, this other person is working on the data, etc. Right? So this will be probably a 5 or 6 member team, and not all of them are doing the same kind of work. Now, if you go through a typical training, maybe all of them would go through all kinds of training, but not applicable to the kind of job they are doing. With generative AI coming in, you are able to now gauge accurately what is the skill level of that person and what is that which they need to learn. Then you also know that which is the job role which this person is going to be fitting into. With that kind of a, I would say, supply and demand kind of an equation drawn out, with generative AI, it becomes easier for us to design that entire skilling or the workforce development path for an individual, right? So this will be based on data which is of the individual itself, which can be their resume, some kind of pre-assessment questions, etc. Then from the project side, where data could come in terms of interviewing different people who had the project, getting access to the source code, getting access to the design docs, getting access to say the wireframes or product management documents, etc. So with all of this input which is there, with generative AI, it becomes much more easier for us to design that individualized upskilling path. With that, I would say the person who goes through it will be truly be project or job ready on day one itself. So yeah, we do expect generative AI to significantly change workforce development and positively impact the ability of individuals to contribute very quickly in the new job or role which they're getting.
Agreed. I think countless new developments and use cases with technology emerge almost every day. And no recent technological innovation has transformed so much, including Gen AI, so quickly. And I think that's why time is of the essence. As we navigate the journey ahead, it's critical to build trust and transparency, ensuring the full potential of Gen AI is leveraged across the economy, business, and people. Ultimately, the best outcomes are within our power to shape. And by leading and learning in new ways, I think we have the power to lift organizations, people, as well as society, while building the organizational resilience needed to navigate as to what's next on the horizon. Well, thank you so much, Giridhar. It was a pleasure having you with us today on a podcast. I think we learned some new insights around workforce development and how generative AI can transform workforce development and the role new technologies plays into it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Priya. Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous and new podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.